is a special hurricane coverage on Hurricane Florence. Florence was a Category 4, knocked all the way down to a Category 2. This has been a bear of a storm to forecast. Nevertheless, a lot of the models didn't have quite a handle on what was going on here. Well, the last 24 to 36 hours, Florence has been dealing with those upper level wind shear of about 20 knots up in the 200 to 300 millibar layer, way up there in the atmosphere, some 3 or 4 kilometers up. Nevertheless, it's continuing towards the coastline here. It's starting to slow down speed. Was supposed to slow down 6 to 8 hours ago. It's finally starting to slow down. It's behind schedule on that, but eventually here it will make landfall, we think, towards the southern part of North Carolina, right along the North Carolina, South Carolina border, and eventually make landfall over the next 24 to 36 hours. So right before the weekend starts here, we expect landfall and impact. One thing to note, many people are saying, well, this thing's down to about 100 miles an hour. It's weekend, a couple categories. Don't discount this storm. It's got a really large size to it. The wind field is still very huge. It's got a lot of storm surge, and it has a storm surge similar to a Category 3 or 4 simply because of its large size, as well as the fact that it was a 4 for a while. It's got all this water into motion towards the coast, and as it moves towards the coast, that water is not going to slow down. It's going to move inland here along the coast. So take this storm very seriously. If you're in a hurricane warning, heed those warnings and advisories very carefully. So there you have it. There's the storm, and as I said, there's the track. It kind of bends and then moves up the Appalachians, and I'll talk about the Northeast next week, where it could drop some rain, but it might not be as bad as expected. Let's look at those forecast models, clustering in on a solution here into North Carolina, South Carolina area, right around the Wilmington area. So mostly every model pretty much on board with this right now, depending on which part of North Carolina and South Carolina you're in, will greatly depend on the impacts here, but nevertheless, it is a very large storm, so don't look just on the actual center as a point. This is a very large circulation, and it has long-lasting effects as it slows down, and its sheer size will drop a lot of rain. So this system is quite a surge producer as well as a rain producer. So flooding is the name of the game with this storm. Once it makes landfall inland, you see most model solutions take it up the Appalachians next week. Hopefully by this time the ridge will be getting broken down quicker, and we'll get it caught up in a westerly system here, and maybe we won't have as much heavy rain event as we originally thought here up into portions of the Northeast. So there you have it, forecast models, and take a look at hurricane watches and warnings here. We have all those hurricane warnings. We have inland hurricane warnings for North Carolina and South Carolina too, as well as inland tropical storm warnings. So heed all of those warnings. And if you're in an evacuation area, you probably should have been evacuated by now, as we're already feeling the effects in North Carolina and portions of South Carolina. So there is the storm surge map. Not as bad as we originally thought in the Outer Banks. Still bad, but not as catastrophic as, say, into portions of Wilmington area, down towards the portions of South Carolina, right along the border of North Carolina, South Carolina. These are the areas that could see up to 15 to 20 feet of surge in some areas, and where the water gets channeled. So there you have it. Let's take a look at the rest of the tropics. Yes, there is other storms going on in the tropics, the Gulf of Mexico. We were supposed to have something develop here towards Texas, but the chances have gone down due to vertical wind shear. Vertical wind shear is the name of the game here. Isaac, moving through the Lesser Antilles, being destroyed by vertical wind shear, really displaced thunderstorms from the center to the east. And this system will have a very hard time getting through the Caribbean. If it can make it to the Western Caribbean, Southern Gulf of Mexico, it may have a chance, but at this point, those chances are dwindling. And take a look out here in the Atlantic. Joyce, Tropical Storm Joyce, did develop. It's out there being absorbed by Helene, Tropical Storm Helene, which is moving towards the Azores. So if you live in the Azores, tropical storm warnings are in effect. Heed those warnings. And the rest of the tropics here, I want to make note of something here. Vertical wind shear. This is a sign that El Nino is pretty much on our doorstep, if not already here. So this will play into my winter 2018-2019 outlook. So watch for that. I'll have that out shortly. Rest of the tropics, as I said, vertical wind shear. So these systems really having a hard time surviving. So Rest of the tropic pattern, high pressure systems across the north central Atlantic building towards the western portion of the Atlantic and to the northeast part of the country. That's keeping Florence from moving up too quickly to the north. Bends it into the Carolina coastline, goes south for a little bit, and then rides up the spine of the Appalachians next week once this high pressure system in the northeast slowly retreats and gets broken down. So there's the rest of the tropics, your patterns, and your outlooks. And take a look at precipitation totals across the country. Mostly out west, we're not dealing with too much in the Pacific Northwest. But it's here in the Carolinas, this is where we're dealing with a tremendous amount of rainfall. Some areas could see up to 20 to 25 inches of rain, locally higher amounts possible. And that will stretch up across the Appalachians and into the Northeast next week. Thankfully, though, we see a lot of these totals in the 2 to 4 inch range up into New York and Pennsylvania. We hope by this time that the system will get caught in the westerlies, that high pressure system ridge will break down. It will allow this system to exit a little more quickly than originally thought. So, take a look at the pattern. That ridge continues for at least 3 to 4 days here in the Northeast. By that point next week, we will finally break this down. Let's take a look at the forecast. There is that flood outlook I have for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week across the Susquehanna River Valley, my Binghamton, Scranton, Harrisburg areas. I've dropped it to a slight risk. You will still have some areas of flooding with 2 to 4 inches of rain, but I expect this system to be a little more progressive than originally thought. So there you have it. This is a little bit of good news, silver lining here. So let's hope this high pressure ridge can break down and continue to break down next week across the Northeast. Let's get right into the forecast, starting off with your TGIF across the Northeast, dealing with that stalled frontal boundary here across southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and that will continue to slowly sink to the south here during the day on Friday. We'll have a stray shower or thunderstorm in most areas across the southern tier of New York, most of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Temperatures breaking into the 70s and 80s. It'll feel warm though, warmer than the temperatures because of the dew points and humidity into your Saturday. Look at this across the Northeast. Most areas really nice. So areas between 2 and 6 p.m. we get a stray shower or thunderstorm developing, mainly from the New York-Pennsylvania border on southward here. As this stalled stationary front continues to make its presence felt. But across most of the Northeast we're dealing with temperatures right around 80, but as I said, dew points near 70, 72, 73. It'll make it feel more like 85 or 86 or 87 in most areas. For your Sunday, this is probably your nicest and driest day. Will feel a little on the warm side though, as temperatures warm into the 80s, the backside of high pressure here, but take a look. Mostly wall-to-wall sunshine. We have to get into southern Pennsylvania to get a stray shower or thunderstorm, but even then, chance is only about 10 or 20% into your Monday. Start to have that front that combined with the remnants of Florence start to drift northward here across Pennsylvania. We'll have increasing clouds, chance of showers, thunderstorms increasing throughout the day from south to north. By Monday night, most areas will start getting into the thick of the rain here across the Northeast. Hopefully we can move this system through as progressively as we're looking at here in the models now as the ridge breaks down. Let's take a look at the 5-day outlook for my hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Tunkhannock, Owego, and all points in between along the Susquehanna River. Friday into Friday night, look at that. Chance of shower and thunderstorm mainly between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, some breaks of sun from time to time. Temperature getting up near 80. We'll feel more like 85 or 86 though, with about a 71 to 72 dew point into your Saturday. Look at this. Not too bad across the Northeast. Chance of a stray shower or thunderstorm, only about a 10 to 20% chance though. It's mainly between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Heading up towards 81, will feel more like 86 into your Sunday. Look at that, not too bad here across the Northeast. This will be your driest day. No chance of showers and thunderstorms, brilliant sunshine. Heading up towards 84, getting kind of toasty. And into your Monday and Tuesday, there you have it. Not too bad across our area. But it's Monday night and Tuesday into Wednesday here. We have the chance of 2 to 4 inches of rain. We will have some localized flooding, but if we get this amount of rain, we won't be dealing with a massive flood problem. That'll do it for this edition of Weather Northeastern. Don't forget to like me on Facebook, BD Mark, or Weather Northeastern. It's Twitter at WX Northeastern and www.mediamark.com or weathernortheastern.com. That'll do it for this edition of Weather Northeastern.